Okay, how you punks doing? I see a lot of good eggs in the chat. My name's DeVito. We're going to be talking about space heaters today, my favorite subject. We got a video queued up. Well, it's not queued up, but it's going to be queued up. We're talking about space heaters, my favorite subject. Happen to have a space heater. Own it. All right. It's a good one. And like I said, we will be talking about space heaters. We will do that. We have a video ready. As soon as we get a couple more good eggs in that chat. Okay, let's get the video ready. Okay, how you good eggs doing, huh? Okay. We'll wait for a few more good eggs, then we'll get it going. We're going to be watching, learning about space heaters. Peter, what's up? You're one of the good eggs. We're going to be watching. We're going to be talking about space heaters today. Why everyone should own one and the history of them. That's a fact, Jack. So I'm glad you're here. Glad everyone's here. Oh, I don't know who that is. Mark whatnot? He's been absent. Okay, I haven't seen him. I guess we'll get right into it. It's a good video. Okay. So we could always go back.
Wondered why your 90-year-old great-grandmother has burned fingers. This is why.
Look at that thing. That must have been like the first space heater. Looks interesting. Skull.
This is a circa 1910 Detroit model electric heater manufactured by the Detroit Electrical Heater Co. Interestingly enough, the Detroit Electrical Heater Co. is more known for their soldering irons than they are for anything else. As a matter of fact, they were producing soldering irons up until about 2001.
Looks interesting to me. I wish I had one of those.
But they were founded, I believe, in 1895. This electric heater is of the sausage bulb style.
Sausage bulb? Never heard of it. Looks interesting. I think you guys agree. A lot of good eggs out there. My name's DeVito.
And they were fairly short-lived. These were all the rage in the 1900s to the 19-teens. This one made about 1915, possibly 1910. It's hard to say. It's over 100 years old if it's a day.
He has my interest.
Manufactured from cast brass in many pieces. This base is actually made.
They made him to last back then. 100% brass.
Of 4 separate pieces of cast brass, and then you've got your front side pieces as well as the top filigree. It looks like cast iron, but it's not. It's unfortunate that somebody decided to spray paint it silver, because behind all that ugly silver Krylon is a beautiful antique brass finish.
I like the silver.
And this spring, when the weather turns, I will be bringing it back to its old self. This 4-position rotary switch was manufactured by the Perkins Electrical Switch Co.
Look at the detail on that, the craftsmanship back then. You can't get that nowadays.
Yeah, there we go. That's the off position. One of the great things about this switch is it has a very nice and solid feel to it. It's made from a ceramic housing.
Ceramic housing. They made them to last.
And like all old switches of that time period, it has a nice beautiful clunk to it. Now, how this switch works is it has a spring-loaded.
See, not like the new days where everything's a touch screen. You have a real switch.
Shaft, which is attached to a rotary dial that probably, if I were to, I found the patent information on it, but it actually.
Very interesting.
Once the tension on this rotary wheel okay, let's start over. So internally, this switch works using a spring preload. And as you rotate the knob, that tension increases on that spring. Once it reaches a certain point, once that spring fully compresses, it provides a high amount of potential energy.
So he's getting a lot of energy out there from the heater
to the rotary switch itself, which results in it switching very rapidly. So instead of turning slowly, which would cause arcing and burning of the contacts, this switch is designed so that it switches position quickly, which reduces the damage to the contact.
And that is very important for long life.
Tips and reduces the arcing potential. Now, the bulbs themselves are probably one of the most valuable aspects of this heater. These bulbs cost anywhere from $30 to $50, possibly even $75 a piece when they're found individually.
A lot of money for bulbs.
I'm finding all three bulbs and the heater for the price of $150 may seem like a great bargain. I actually bought this from the same shop that I got my Vortelex, the one downstairs. Which is kind of like a consignment.
I hope he fires it up.
And fundraising shop. They actually donate a lot of their profits to charity. And they've had this unit for a couple of years now. And I found out about it a few weeks ago. And I put it in my bank of thoughts whether I want to buy it or not. And it finally.
Hyundai Tucson versus Toyota RAV4. Look what Tucson has. And what RAV4 doesn't.
I finally just said,
Sorry about the ad, folks.
But I should buy this thing because I'll never see another one again. And I don't have an antique space heater, so this is my opportunity to get one. And this is my first antique space heater. Now, these bulbs were used by a couple of different manufacturers. I know that GE made quite a few similar style heaters back in.
You probably had to be pretty well off to get one of those back then, if I had to guess.
The 1900s to 19-teens. And they all use the same sausage. They call these sausage-style lamps.
They look like sausages.
Lamps. And they're just bog standard incandescent bulbs that are just rated for a fairly high wattage output. 250 to 500 watts, like I said earlier.
Oh wow! So you're just big light bulbs, Edison style bulbs,
and they screw into a standard bulb socket.
I don't see why we don't just use those for space heaters nowadays, folks.
As you can see, in fact, this does fit in a standard. I could put it right in that lamp right now if I wanted to, and it would actually work.
So standard bulb, very very interesting.
But you can see these are very early light bulbs. They actually have American Electrical Heater Co. Etched right into the envelope.
That's a good quality bulb right there.
Michigan.
Howdy, sir. We're learning about space heaters, the history of them. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that.
Yeah, 250 watt. All three of these bulbs have that marking on them, so they are all presumably original.
Oh, wow. Original bulbs, so they didn't use this too much. I wonder if there's a fan that drives it, too.
And you've got to be real careful with these because, again, if you can find one in working condition, they are quite expensive. And the question is if you can find one. Now, these bulbs have a problem, and I'm not sure.
Me too. I love good quality bulbs, too, sir.
What I'm going to do about it at this point. The problem is, you'll notice I'm being real careful with these things. Because these bulbs are unsupported from the top.
Howdy, Vito. Thanks for coming here, Vito Calzone.
They're subject to vibration damage as well as sudden movements. And over time, the cement that actually cements the base onto the envelope has cracked on all three bulbs. In fact, one of them is worse than the other two. The base is very loose. There's really not much holding it on other than the wires going to the filaments.
Is he going to start it up or not?
I'm trying to figure out a way to properly
Thanks, Vito.
repair the bases, but I don't have to do it. It's not critical because it's not being used in a regular manner. It's not like I'm going to be throwing it into my car and driving it cross country, very often. But it's definitely a great piece. It would look beautiful in an antique home. Because electricity was so expensive and just having electricity in your house was such an immense luxury.
It definitely must have been a rarity to have one of those heaters. I think they mainly heated by coal back then, am I right?
A lot of these older appliances were really overstyled because they wanted them to look at home in a wealthy person's home. And this was the style back then in the 1900s to the 1910s. You'll find that most appliances manufactured after the mid-1920s started taking on a more Art Deco appearance. This is, I believe, considered Art Nouveau. Floral patterns, scroll work, really elaborate, just really elaborate designs. These nice clawfoot style feet.
It's got nice feet.
This thing is absolutely beautiful. I mean, just imagine what it's going to look like when all that paint is removed. I'm giddy with excitement. Now it has
I hope he fires this up.
a very nice polished brass reflector shield, which is not, thankfully, is not the back wall of the heater. It actually has a separate steel pan which serves as the back. So it's kind of a double walled construction, but the top is a single panel, which is interesting to me because the top is where all the heat is going to collect, but it's just a single panel. There's no insulative properties at all. Those of you who grew up around the Arvin ribbon style electric heaters, you know that those are double walled and pretty much all the way around. So burning yourself by touching one is pretty hard. But back in the 1900s, they were all about making things work. They didn't
Looks like a very nice heater to have.
worry so much about safety. And furthermore, I took the bottom cover off, which you'll all get to see in a little bit. But I took the bottom cover off, and I found that there are no thermal cutoff switches. There's no fuse. There's no tip switch. Nothing. So if anything were to happen to this device, it would burn your house to the ground, given the opportunity.
Well, you should be more careful. Hey, Tuna, how you doing? Thanks for coming. I'm excited to have you guys. Good eggs in the chat. My name is Ray DeVito.
Definitely not safe. There's no front grid, and there's no missing parts. It's all here, which is why I bought it. So one of the sticking factors in my acquiring of this device is that the sales clerk in the shop had to let me test it before I bought it. Because they said if even one of the bulbs doesn't work, I'm not buying it. And she was okay with that. She says, all right, well, here's an extension cord. Go ahead and plug it in. So as you see in the next part of this video, the cord is like something from hell. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do this. I should just take my chances, buy it, and test it
I would have bought it too. Even with the broken bulb, I would have bought it.
at home when I can get the cord properly fixed. But that's not how I roll.
You didn't start your business to do taxes. Good thing we did. Save time and money when you file with Block Advisors by...
So what I
Sorry about the ads and not paying for YouTube Premium.
actually did is I took a multimeter So I keep one in my car at all times because you never know when you need one. And I tested the device against shorting, and one thing you want to do on something like this is if it has like a resistant heat elements or light bulbs, you can switch it off and it should have an open circuit. Let's go ahead and test it now. I'm going to just kind of go over this because this
he's going to turn it on. Stand back.
This could be useful information for anyone who's looking at buying something like an electric
I agree. That is a beautiful unit.
fan, and you want to make sure there aren't any short circuits before you plug it in. So let's grab a multimeter and kind of go through that real quick.
Let's go.
Okay, so the first thing is first, you want to take a look at the mains cord or power cord in the US. And I think in Europe they call these mains cords. We don't really say that here in the States, but check it over for fraying and previous repair attempts, cracked plugs. This one has all of those things. There's some major fraying on the outer wrap over here. And you can see
well, it is 100 years old.
That it's either cotton or asbestos insulation. I think they used asbestos in some of these.
I think they should still use asbestos. Hey, Jackie.
Especially on resistance heat appliances. A little bit of fraying in there. A little bit of, you can feel some damage in there. More fraying. It's not looking so good. This is not the original plug, by the way. This is a replacement cord because these heaters use standard appliance cords. I believe it's 3/4 of an inch space.
Howdy, MC. Good to have you. Asbestos. Yeah, we'll talk about asbestos another day. Asbestos isn't as bad as people think. So I approve of the use of asbestos too. There's nothing to replace it. But you should replace that cord though.
On the pins. But look at that plug. It looks horrible. It's got
Plug it in already, buddy.
insulation pouring out of it. The terminals are loose, bent. The prong, sorry. It's actually completely falling apart. Disintegrating, in fact. The business end of this thing is also smashed pretty badly. And I'm like, mind if I plug this into your building? And she says, yeah, no problem. So, okay. But the first thing I did, I took out
plug it in.
My trusty multimeter, and I checked it for short circuits. So I like to carry around a pocket multimeter. This is a Radio Shack multimeter. This is just like the one I got when I was 10 years old, and I still have that one, by the way. And we're going to just pop this sucker open. There we go. Take the leads out. Now for checking for shorts,
I hope he gets to plug it in pretty soon.
all you want to do is select, let's see,
Probably
there we go.
voltage.
This one has a setting for toning out short circuits, and that's what we're going to use. Okay. Let's take a look at each prong. We're going to connect to the neutral and hot. Make sure that it doesn't tone out like you don't want to hear anything. Good. That's awesome. Then we're going to take we're going to check each terminal for conductivity to the plug end of it. Good. We're going to check the other one. Because
I don't know what he's doing taking this long. Start it up.
One thing we don't want is for there to be an open circuit somewhere inside the cord. That could be a problem. And it looks like it's good. Okay, so the cord is intact for basic testing purposes only. We wouldn't want to use that for anything. Now, we're going to plug the cord into the back of the unit.
I know. Yeah, I got you, MC. I agree. This guy should have did this 10 minutes ago.
Okay. Not not a very tight fit, but it's also 106 years old. And we're going to check for resistance.
Are you kidding me? You're still checking? Jeez. It's amazing he gets anything done.
So, looks like that's diode check. There we go.
Come on, dude. Diodes are fine.
Resistance. We're going to check it for resistance by connecting our probes to both sides of.
I think this guy needs to take a trip down I-80. I know, right? Hey, sir.
The plug.
This guy looks like a guy that probably uses a dishwasher. Am I right? Probably puts lampshades on his lamps.
As of right now, it should be open. Unlimited resistance. Now this is how you can check the basic functionality. All right, so this is a 3-position switch.
I didn't sign up for this, dude. We're just checking out your heater.
Okay, we're open. We're in the off position now. I'm going to turn it on to the low position.
Yeah, we're definitely taking a trip with this guy down I-80, and only one of us is coming back.
Or is that off? There we go. I'm getting 95.8 ohms.
Yeah, we don't understand what you're talking about.
This position gives me 55.5 ohms.
What did you discuss with the Holy Father in that final meeting?
See the most astonishing performances of the year in hands down the best picture of.
Sorry about the commercials.
Okay. This position gives me 40.0 ohms. That should be the high position. Interestingly enough, it seems like it would be the other way around. Like it would have. Yeah, that makes sense because there's less resistance when you have all 3 bulbs engaged. Switch it one more. That should be off.
I agree with MC Star Search.
What we're really looking for here,
Oh.
we're looking for short circuits. All right. Now, if I put it on short check, it's actually showing open, so it's not completely shorted out. But an incandescent light bulb technically is a short. See, it's a short circuit, so it's really better to check for resistance than for open or closed circuits because it's not black and white. You know what I'm saying? So let's get it back into the off position.
I agree with Sir. It's just magic. Just should be magic how it works. We don't need to know about your diodes.
Okay, there we are. Nope. One more.
I just want to see it light up like a Christmas tree.
There we go. That's our off position. And the final test is to plug it in and fire it up. Once you've determined that there's no actual short circuits, one other thing you can do is in a case like this, you want to make sure there are no shorts to ground. You can take the, I would turn it in the on position.
Guy's just playing.
I'm going to put it in position number 3, which engages all 3 light bulbs. And we're going to check both legs for a short circuit to ground to make sure that the chassis isn't affected. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm going to check both legs just to make sure. Both, that being the hot and the neutral. Now, this can be misleading if you're plugging in an old radio, which some of them actually have hot chassis, meaning the chassis is connected to the hot or neutral side of the plug. They didn't have polarized plugs back then either, so it could be
Yeah, he's something else to him, isn't he?
either one, whichever way you plug it in. So that could be misleading if you're working on old radios. But I have no short circuits at all. going to the
I think he's got one short circuit.
chassis of the device. So you got to remember, they didn't double insulate things back then. They just sort of, a lot of
Thank you, Tuna.
electrical safety rules that they didn't have in 1910 or 1909 when it was likely designed. So you kind of have to take some due diligence, take some initiative, and just kind of check things to make sure they're working as they should before you plug it in. So once I determined that the device was dangerous but safe enough for a quick test,
Come on, dude, fire it up.
I went ahead and I plugged it in, and obviously all 3 bulbs worked, so I bought it. On with the show. So the next...
Did he take this long when he was buying it? Feel sorry for that store.
Section of this video, we're going to actually power it up. I have it set up in my kitchen, and we're going to power it up and take a look at its operation.
It's true, Tuna. It's true.
And I never did get a reading as to how hot it actually gets, but it does draw up to 2,500 watts. It's actually set up with 250 watt bulbs, bringing it to a maximum consumption of 750 watts. On with the show.
These
Another ad.
are nurse jobs. More than 500,000 of them.
Typical of something made in the early 20th century, it uses square nuts to fix
Square nuts.
the base plate on, and we're going to try to loosen that up a little bit. Should probably put a little bit of penetrating oil on these, but this would be necessary.
This guy could have pre-loosened these before the video, am I right?
I don't know if this has ever been a part. In fact, I don't think it has. I think I may be the first person in 106 years to take this apart, because it doesn't look like there's any evidence of these nuts ever being loosened. So just take this belly pan off, and we're going to get a look at the back of that switch. Take a look at some of the original wiring inside there, and
Come on, dude. We're bored to death. Get it going.
working on appliances that are older than almost any living person. Surreal in a way. I mean,
This guy is not a good egg.
this thing is not the oldest
I agree with Jackie.
item I've ever owned, but it's up there. Okay, yeah, this is going to need some work, but it's all doable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rusty piece, and we're going to soak that in some evapor rust. Same with this belly pan. We'll get all the rust off. We'll get a nice coat of engine paint on there.
We don't need to know everything you're doing. Just do it, dude.
All that rust that kind of fell. Take a look at the backside here. Look at that old wiring. It's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
A lot of asbestos in here too. This white thing here, that is an asbestos insulator. You can tell there's 100% asbestos there. No question about that. Let's see, the back of that Perkins switch, it should have a model number, but I don't want to remove the switch right now. I don't want to mess with it. It's got all the original wiring, 100% original wiring in there. You'll even notice there's actually casting sand left in the details of this brass base. That's amazing. That is actual casting sand.
If anyone knows where this guy lives, we're taking a trip.
They would have used a green sand mold.
Not going to hurt him. Going to have a face-to-face meeting with him about his videos.
To cast it. And because it was the back side of it, they didn't care that it was not completely clean. They probably just brushed off whatever sand they could and left whatever was there. That's so amazing. But that is green sand casting. Green casting sand, I believe. I don't know if it was actually green sand or some other, but that's what that is. All that sand that's in there. Kneel down, get a better look here. You can see that.
Did you say something about Neil's brother?
This is like a fibrous material that's been soaked or treated with asbestos, or it is pure asbestos. Looks like there's some insulating glass that is kind of flaking apart in those sockets. Original wiring again with yeah, it's a solid core copper, it looks like, that has been just covered in cloth wrap. Oh, God, 100-some years worth of dust in there. Oh, that's so nasty.
Come on, guys. I thought we were going to start with the heater.
And it smells old. It smells ancient. The bulb socket trim rings are held in by split rings. You can actually tell, and they're probably made of Bakelite, and because that is pretty much the only form of plastic they had back in 1910. And look at that switch. That is such a beautiful piece of equipment right there. Look at that thing. It's a 3-position switch with off.
Why don't we start it up then?
A lot of brass, some steel. Man, oh man. You see those mica insulators? You got to be real careful when working on some of this stuff because those old insulators will deteriorate. I mean, they're okay.
I agree with MC Star Search.
Okay, as long as you don't take them apart. But yeah, that's solid core copper right there, going from each point.
This is an example. If you don't know what to say, you'll say anything like him.
That's amazing. I've never seen that before. Ceramic. A lot of ceramic. And the ceramic is in good condition. It's not cracking or falling apart or anything. I like that. That's very good. Very good.
Good for what?
Anyway. So that's that. 106 years old and still in good working condition. That's just mind-boggling.
I think I just won my taxes.
Oh
yeah? I just switched from TurboTax to H&R Block. It was so easy.
I'm going to clean up the bottom of this pan before I put it back on.
Sorry about that.
Then we're going to fire it up. One other thing I want to point out, and which is why I bought this, is that there is no damage, there are no cracks to the filigree, and it is intact. There are no missing pieces. The knob is intact. And I actually, when I went into the store and I made my offer, I said the offer is contingent upon the unit actually functioning. So I have to test it in your store. And she looked at me like, are you sure? And I said yes, because she wasn't about to just go and plug it in. But I looked the cord over. I have a multimeter in my car. So I actually checked with a multimeter to make sure there were no short circuits. I checked to make sure that
I hope he at least starts this thing up. Am I right?
there were 3 different levels of resistance when I turn this knob. See, I don't just go and buy stuff and plug it in and see what happens. I often will take, when there's a safety risk or risk of further damage, I'll bring a multimeter with me. I always keep one in the car for that reason. And I will check to make sure there are no
Not exactly what I keep on me when I go down I-80.
short circuits or other defects in the wiring before I plug it in. That's the right way to do it. And that's what people should be doing when they buy antiques like this, if they plan on plugging them in and using them. You want to make sure there are no short circuits. You want to make sure the switches are working correctly. And you can do that with a basic multimeter. Let's plug it in. And I'll actually go and I'll demonstrate what that actually means. And I have a multimeter in that drawer. We'll pull that out, and we'll take a look at the wiring and switches and kind of do a dry run of what you'll want to do in an antique shop when buying something like this. So let's turn it on low.
He's finally turning it on.
And you'll see that the middle lamp illuminates.
Good.
Now that is a 250 watt output at this point. When you switch it to medium, it cuts out the middle, fires up the 2 outboard lamps. You'll notice that this bulb in the middle is darker than the other two. And that's because it's more than likely that this unit was used at a lower, it was used on low more than any other temperature setting. And then we've got...
Oh, that's interesting, King. You got a diesel heater? That's very interesting.
Our full bore setting. So these bulbs are still holding vacuum. I had it running for about 20 minutes the other day, or yesterday, when I first got it home. And I noticed no ill effects. It didn't really start smoking or anything. Nothing happened.
It's a pretty nice heater, actually.
It was running pretty smoothly. Now, while it's all illuminated, you can look at the reflector, and you'll see like brush strokes. And what that really is somebody tried to paint it with a clear lacquer, and to protect, they polished it, probably painted it, or I don't know why they would use they would brush it on, but they did. And what happened was the lacquer started to burn, and you can clearly see, where the heavy burning.
Interesting. I'm interested. Skull Luna.
Occurred. So I have to, when I get this apart, I've got to strip all that off, repolish it, and you're supposed to leave it uncoated as far as I know, because I don't think there's any clear coat that will survive the temperatures which exceed 400 to 500 degrees on a unit like this for long periods of time.
Hyundai Tucson versus Honda CR-V.
Outrageous.
Look what Tucson has and what CR-V.
So again, this is as found original.
Glad he at least turned it on. It's a pretty nice heater, actually.
Original bulbs, fully functioning, using an original style cord from about 1916.
Let's see him keep that on and leave the house for a week, go on vacation. See what happens. Am I right?
And I couldn't be happier. I love it. Now, again, if one of these bulbs does burn out, and that could easily happen, you got to be real careful. I'm not planning on using it very much. But let's take a look inside the bulb window. You can see that the element really starts down here. And it's just a coiled piece of nichrome wire that goes...
Hey, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Congrats on your YouTube channel. Everyone should consider subbing to Mark Turi 123. He's in the chat. He's a good guy. We do a lot of streaming together.
Goes through the bulb, loops once, and goes back down again. At least that's what I can tell. It kind of goes up, it loops around, and goes back down. Never, ever, 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 ever move this while it's on. Because what's going to happen is, you can see that those coils are pretty close together, and if the vibration causes them to touch or short out right about there, right where that loop ends, it could potentially burn the element right out.
Oh.
And I think
that's a nice heater.
The reason that these were used for a very short period of time in the early 20th century is because they are very fragile. It doesn't take much to kill one of these things. It's amazing how this one has lasted as long as it has.
That is amazing. I wonder how many are left in existence.
So with that, we're going to call it a day. I'm going to shut it off, let it cool down. And when the weather turns nice again, look at that. When the weather turns nice again, I'll be disassembling it completely, refinishing it, or removing the finish that's on it, and making it look properly again. Thank you for watching. And if you have any...
All right, that actually wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. What do you guys think? I have my space heater. Let me I'll get rid of that screen. There we go. Well, we'll just go on another minute or two, and then we'll take off. We'll get some. We'll do some stuff. Maybe we'll cook some dinner later. And like I said, I got my space heater on. Oh, I don't know if you guys could hear it. Gives just enough heat and whatnot to keep me warm and whatnot. And yep. Any final thoughts, anyone, before we get going? I want to thank you guys for being here. Peter, thank you for being here. It's good to see you, sir. It's always a pleasure. Tuna, thanks for stopping by. As always, Stutter John's Fingernails, pleasure. Jackie, great to see you. Absolutely. Star Search, great to see you too, sir. Captain Hook, Jackie, Star Search, King, and of course, Mark, great to see you. And Vito Killzone, great to see you, Vito. Great to see everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Maybe we'll come back on later. Maybe not. I'll see you guys in the other chats. If not, though, have a great day, everyone. I know. All right. End stream.